Hi, my name is Jenny Niemeyer, and I'm interviewing Bryce Dukeshire here today at Econogy. Bryce is a incoming senior at Xavier University, and he's majoring in accounting. So he's leading our finance department here at Econogy right now. Bryce, can you tell me how you first got involved here at Econogy?
Yeah, so when I was a freshman at Xavier, I got involved with the student-run business program, and the time the director also was just starting a new venture as well, Econogy. And throughout the years, I kind of worked in addition to going to school with them, and now I'm kind of here more as a full-time gig.
Okay, great. So what are some of your day-to-day responsibilities?
So I kind of alluded to it earlier. A lot of it right now is internal finance stuff. I work with a few others, just doing necessary finance functions, payroll, paying bills, working on the financial dashboard, things like that. In addition to the financial management, working with Della and Owen, the two founders of the company, on kind of more of the strategy and the overarching goal of Econogy. In addition to that, I've also been a project manager for a few of our projects.
Okay, so what's your overall experience with Econogy been like this far?
Well, good. There's really two main things that would describe my experience so far. Is one, I've learned an incredible amount of information and just ways to conduct myself in a professional environment. But my experience, though, has been great because of most of the people I work with, who are also great and share similar goals and outlooks on life.
So I know you mentioned having some experience in project management through Econogy. Can you give some tips you've learned on professionalism in terms of project management?
Yeah. When I first started out working on projects, I had a lot to learn. And what I've come to realize is how important communication it is, how important communication is. We've worked with big teams and small teams. We've worked with older clients and younger clients. We've worked with people in different industries, and so kind of their perspective on things doesn't always align with other team members, and so it's important to make sure that the entire team and the client is on the same page as you, and you can't over communicate enough of that. When I first started out, my communication skills weren't that great, and so a lot of times I'd be trying to either propose an idea or try to understand an idea that I just didn't, because all the information wasn't communicated to me, or I wasn't communicated all my information enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some great insight. So I've noticed that you've often been working with a lot of clients and CEOs that are much older than you, 20, 30, even 40 years in some cases. And they often seem to still treat you as one of their peers. Can you explain some of what you've learned with how to interact with these clients and CEOs as a student?
Yeah. Well, I would suggest that you shop at the same stores they shop for their clothes. Look, I don't think you're right that most of the clients and the people we interact with are much older than us, but I don't think they really care how old we are. I think they just care about the quality of work we bring and that we're conducting ourselves in a very professional manner. And so, as long as we're on the same page, going back to the communication thing, as long as we're good communicators back and forth, and we're completing work that we agreed upon, I don't think they really care how old you are. But a lot of times as well, in my spare time, I watch a lot of videos and read a lot of books of people that I kind of aspire to be. And what that does is it just allows me to kind of gauge how they talk, how they conduct themselves, and kind of their experience as well. So it allows me to understand that person better as well.
Okay, yeah, that's really great advice.
Yeah.
So would that be your number one piece of advice then, as a student working with older clients or older CEOs? Do you have any other pieces of advice to add to that?
So I think one of the most important things from our job as consultants to working with a client who, like you said, most times is much older than us, is we have to bring value to their organization, and as long as we're doing that in a quality way, I don't think, like I said earlier, I don't think the age has anything to do with it. Another piece of advice, though, I would bring is to be very mindful of that CEO's time. In my experience, a lot of the times, a CEO just doesn't have the time to go on tangents or have to hold hands or ask questions that should have been answered. They're working all days of the week. So I would suggest, if you're working with a client, particularly the CEO or a higher level manager, to be very mindful of their time. Go to the meeting prepared, anticipate questions, and have all that stuff done. Make sure make your presentation as clear as possible. A lot of times, we try to visualize things if we're able to, because I think that's better in terms of communicating. When you're going to meet with those CEOs or high level managers, send the agenda the day before. It allows people to understand what we're going to be meeting about and allows them to be prepared. And then when you are meeting, stick to that agenda. You don't want to go on tangents. It gets annoying. You lose track of things, and an hour meeting will last an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah, that's very true. That's great advice. I like the piece you said, especially about valuing their time and recognizing that. Yeah,
that in my experience, that's been incredibly important. Just be very mindful of their time.
Okay, so overall then, what do you enjoy most about working for Econogy?
I love the culture. We're in a startup community. We're in Over the Rhine, which has a very, very startup community. Cincinnati is one of the best ecosystems in the world for startups. It's just a very fun environment. The people here, like I said earlier, are really great. We have an open office space. It's not your traditional kind of corporate setting, which makes things more fun and laxed when they need to be. In saying that, we do very complex projects though, and so we are adding that value to an organization or to a community, and that's personally beneficial for me, knowing that I'm personally contributing toward that. But also, it's nice knowing that the organization I work for is also making not only our community, but in the long run, the world kind of a better place as well, which really, I think, aligns with Della and Owen, the two founders' original mission and vision.
It's very true. So what's been the most challenging thing for you to learn or adapt to here at Econogy? Or even working for a startup in that case? Yeah.
So when I first started out, all my prior experience had been in very large organizations, and the culture there was much different. I'm not saying I don't like it; it was just much different. And so I can distinctly remember a time when I was meeting with Owen and Della about an email I had sent to a client, and that would have been normal in a large organization. Here you are, and send the attachment. It's much different here because we're not inside of the organization, we're outside of the organization, and so that was the biggest hurdle for me at the time, and I think we've gotten a lot better at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever had to turn down a client?
I don't think we've ever turned down a client, but we have kind of let a project go or kind of terminated a contract. And the reason that's important is because the client needs to kind of align with our mission as well. We got to do the work for them, but they have to equally be as good a partner. And so I think when we analyze clients, or look into clients or companies or organizations, we do take a look at what is it that they do, what is the type of people that they have working for them and things like that. And in the back of our head is do they align with us? Are we going to be a good working partner? Because one of our value propositions at Econogy is to be long-term partners, where we do numerous projects for a client over time, not just one project and we're done. So it is important that we look at a company and say, we can work with these people for years to come.
Yeah, definitely.
And in most cases, that is the case. But there has been a few examples to where that hasn't been the case, and it just caused a lot of problems with our team internally and the relationship between us and the particular organization.
Okay. So where do you see Econogy in 5 years?
We're already growing. When Econogy first started, they weren't doing much in projects per year. Econogy's been in existence for 3 years. They've seen about 3.5 times growth in projects. The organization to date has been equity finance, which has allowed us to remain unleveraged and reinvest kind of our returns back into the people here, bringing people on that are skilled in other areas, and it's allowing us to grow. So in 5 years, I see us in other cities. I see us having a much larger impact in Cincinnati here, and also having much of a more clear focus as to what it is that Econogy does and what impact do we have, not in the community itself necessarily, but in the world. I think Econogy will take off soon. I think our value proposition of being long-term partners for companies is something special that you typically don't find in consulting firms.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are some of the primary organizational goals of Econogy that you see going forward?
Sure. So we're still in an adolescent stage, so it is figuring out strategically where do we want to go, what's the best route to take. So I know a lot of the strategic partners with Econogy, the two founders, and some of the more invested people involved have kind of been trying to figure that out. That's going to be very important as we continue to grow, as it is in any business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think those are probably, that is probably the biggest thing going forward, of figuring that out.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. So what motivates you then as an individual? I know oftentimes when you first start up, you have to be a self-starter yourself too.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I take my professional career very seriously, and the people I am around kind of think serve as that motivator. As long as I'm continuing to be around good, decent people who share the same outlooks, people who still, people who want to do very, very well professionally, people who want to do well and making a difference in the world. That serves as a motivator, and it's something that has allowed me to stay at Econogy because it makes things a lot easier of being around people like that. So that's a motivator.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have any other tips or just general advice that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I think people like when someone comes to you with questions or seeking advice, and so I'm still at a very young age, and I still have a lot of things to learn. But one thing I've been able to do is reach out to people and seek advice, or just trying to bring them on board as kind of a mentor. There's a lot of people who kind of are my mentor, and they don't even know they're my mentor. But I'm in the back of the room watching them, or I see them on TV or watching videos of them, or read their articles that I kind of look up to. And there's people who are in my day-to-day life as well, who there's just certain traits and qualities about those particular people that I really, really have grabbed onto and enjoy learning from. So to summarize that, I would encourage people, particularly our age, to really seek advice, really find that mentor or mentors, and never be afraid just to ask questions and learn from it. There's really no other way to learn. I mean, if you want to learn by just trial and error, that's going to just take too long. They'll just take too long. So it's much easier, to ask people who have done it before, and I think you'll find that most people will be more than willing to help you out.
Right. That's great advice. I can't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bryce, for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.